Hey guys, welcome back, and thank you so much to all my new subscribers. You guys are amazing. I didn't expect to hit the 15 or 16 subscribers I did as early as I did, so thank you guys. In this game, I really wanted to show you this because we've got a crazy combination sacrifice here by Black in this game that absolutely had to be featured on this channel, so that's why we're looking at this game. Now, I must admit, I don't know who these two players are. All I know is that White's a Chilean Grandmaster, this is a Russian Grandmaster. It was a game played back in 1995, but their name's relatively unknown to me, but nonetheless, they're both GMs, and this game was just crazy, so I'll let the game do the speaking for itself. Now, after c6, we've got the semi-slav defense, so Black has a very strong structure here with all his pawns on light squares. However, his light square bishop is locked in behind the pawn chain. And after e3, knight bd7, so this is all mainline stuff. The idea is that White blocks in his own bishop too, but then he doesn't have to worry about this stuff with d captures c4 and b5, which is quite common in semi-slav positions. So White plays queen c2 now, and it's a very flexible move, develops the queen, but it's not a bishop move. And why am I saying that's important? Well, if White played something like bishop d3, you can see stuff like this, and White loses a whole bunch of time against Black kicking his bishop around with his pawns. So White tries to avoid that usually by playing his light squared bishop at the last possible chance. So queen c2 is a part of that. But after b6, bishop e2 is played anyway, and I think that's because if you do capture and b5's played, well, Black's spent 2 moves moving his own b pawn as well. So White thinks the coast is clear. He plays his bishop to e2, and it is. Black plays bishop b7, White castles kingside, bishop e7 now, and now rook d1. So you can see with rook d1, the rook is staring at this queen here, so you always have to be a little worried about that. But Black just castles kingside. He's still fine, and he can always come to c7, so not too much of a worry at the moment. And after e4, this dark square bishop now can come out to squares like f4 and g5. It also puts pressure on the center here, so the game's starting to open up. And after d captures, knight captures, queen c7 just prevents the bishop from coming to f4, and it also gets off this file and connects the rooks, so multi-purpose move. Now this is where it starts to pick up a bit, because after knight c3 and c5, we can see it becomes double-edged with d5, and c5 practically invites d5, because c5 was striking d4 and let the d5 grip slightly loosen. So after captures and captures, you can see here now White has a very advanced isolated d pawn, and it's going to be up to Black to try neutralize whatever White's attacking plans are in combination with this pawn and try to gang up on this later potentially. It's a strength and a weakness and for White, so it's very double-edged, and one of these players is likely going to come out the victor when you see this sort of thing. It's either going to get rounded up or it's not. Now, Black starts his plans with a6, and the idea is to play b5, b4, kick this knight. But White has a weird plan of his own, and it's knight h4. It looks strange because he's taking his knight, which was well positioned, controlling the least squares and putting it on the side of the board, but his idea is to come to f5. The problem is that Black can easily parry that with g6, but White has a trick up his sleeve, so he believes. After bishop h6, taking advantage of these dark square weaknesses in rook e8, White plays queen d2, and White's threatening to play knight f5. And the reason that's a threat is because this is going to be mate if you capture it. So you can't do that. And this is what White had in mind when he played knight h4 in the first place. The problem is that after bishop d6, threatening h2, and g3, Black just plays b5 anyway. And you may be wondering, why is knight f5 not playable right now? The reason knight f5 is not playable right now is because of b4. And you may be thinking, well, why can't I just play knight a4? You walk into knight e4 is the answer. Because this knight attacks this queen and covers g5 at the same time. So if you try to play queen c1, for instance, you lose your knight. This doesn't work anymore. So that's the first reason. Now the second reason is, what if you just decide to capture this knight and capture this bishop anyway. Well, after queen takes d6 and knight a4, this weak d-pawn starts to become an issue, because you can see it's got 1, 2, 3 attackers and 2 defenders, so black would just clean this pawn up, and he's up a clean pawn. So this is what white hadn't seen when he originally played this queen d2 idea. He didn't realize that this knight e4 idea covered the g5 square quite clearly. So that's why white starts to backpedal here with bishop f3. So he creates a square for his knight on e2 in the event that it's kicked. Black does go ahead and kicks that knight with b4. And after knight e2, follows up with knight e4 himself. So bringing the knight to a key central square, pressures a lot of squares here all over the place, threatens the queen as well. The queen sidesteps to c2, but now it's just backed up with the other knight with knight df6. So black has a very dominant position, I'd say, here. White's knight's on the side of the board. His pieces here aren't really doing much. Black's pieces are starting to coordinate. So white's in a spot of trouble here, I'd say. But he does put up some good resistance with knight g2. So white's trying to correct his past sins by basically bringing this knight, which was doing nothing, back into the center of the game. And after queen d7, knight e3 now. So the knight's playing a much more active role here. And after rook a d8, you can see black's just got a great position. I mean, both of his bishops are firing, his rooks are firing, his knights are on dominant squares. And this pawn has just been put to a halt altogether. White's attack has failed. And after bishop g2, I want you to pause here and have a think what black's potential attacking sequence is. Now, this is the point where things start to get haywire and go crazy. I want you to really think about not just what the first move could be, but what the next several moves would be. And if you can see that, then you're on the level of attacking Grandmaster tier, because this is an incredible combination. So have a pause, have a think. I'll let you think now. Okay, so the move by black that unleashes the devastation and is the reason why it's on this channel is knight takes f2. And okay, so far so good. If you saw that, congrats. But let's see if you saw the other moves, because there's a few of them. King takes f2. Now, you can't ignore this. I mean, how can you? Like, you're just going to be down a pawn and you're screwed. So black has to take. And now rook takes e3. Another sacrifice. It's just getting nuts. And the idea is that rook takes e3 removes a defender of the g4 square, which allows this knight to come into play. Now, if you take with the king and allow knight g4, then you're just going to lose this bishop, right? That's not going to be much of a game. Black will have a very pleasant game, and you'll very likely go on to lose. So white can't just capture with his king, so he captures with his bishop. Now, the moves to follow, knight g4 check, attacking these two. And black just picks up a pawn. Now, black has all the time in the world here. He doesn't have to rush. So there's a bit of repetition here, because if you keep and pick up the pawn, why not? Now, you may be wondering, why didn't white just go back here? Well, the problem is that this bishop's hanging, of course. So he does have to step up to f3 each time. And now, another great move by black. I'll let you pause again and try to think what the move is. I'll give you a hint. It's to exploit this diagonal. Okay, so if you saw this again, congrats. Queen e6. And it has a dual threat of captures here and also stuff like captures here. So very deadly move. And white just tries to sidestep all this with bishop f4, also attacking this, putting a blunting edge to this bishop here. But this is not where it ends. Rook e8's played, and you can see here that black's intensifying a lot of pressure down here on the e file. Still has a lot of pressure here on the c4 pawn. And it prevents stuff like queen e4. So white wants to protect e4 and hang on to this d pawn. So he plays queen c4, but I'll let you pause again. There's another, this is the follow-up sequence to the initial sacrifices. Have a pause, have a think, see if you can checkmate the white king. So the move is queen e3, which is absolutely nuts. Now, black gave up his knight for a pawn first, then gave up the exchange on e3. Now he's giving away his queen. And this is a forced mating sequence. You're absolutely stuffed at this point. So bishop takes e3, rook takes e3 check. Forces the king up the board. Now can you see the mate? I'll play on. Bishop c8, check. Cuts out all these squares here. King has to move up. Can you see the mate? It's coming. I'll play on. h6. Forced to capture. Everything else is mate. This is mate. So everything's mate. So captures. And now I'll let you pause here again if you want to try to solve this. This is mate in 2. Okay, I'll play on. Rook e5. Now this is forced mate in 2. There's nothing you can do. So black is threatening bishop f8, mate, and also rook h5, mate. Now, I really hope you like this game because I thought that was absolutely insane attacking combination. All began with knight takes f2, rook takes e3, queen e3, exploited this diagonal. It was crazy. So, really hoped you liked that game, guys. I'm just going to leave it there, leave it short and sweet. Until next time, please subscribe if you like chess. We're going to be looking at all sorts of crazy games like this. And until next time, see ya. Bye.